Question: when removing a valve core from a heating and air conditioning unit, one may ask, why do I need a valve core removal tool? Back umpteen years ago, I'm not sure how long these things have existed, but these little tools are nice. So technically speaking, this is a if one looks in this hole here, one can see the valve stem here. But technically, this would be to hook your gauges up or whatever. But question, if you had an HVAC system, the valve, this would be on this side. Say, take this port here and come this way. This gives you another port as well. So that's another added benefit. But if one takes this valve stem out here and you do not have anything, is one notes here, this is a cutoff. This is like a sort of like a ball valve. I've never looked inside, but it looks like it's maybe a quarter of a turn, something like one of the little things you would find under your kitchen sink or something, but it's different. But it stops the flow of the refrigerant. So if you did not have this and you remove this little core in here, which would be located here, if you remove this, then the question is, what stops the flow of refrigerant? And keep in mind, this refrigerant has pressure on it. And pressures may even vary. I'm not certain on this, but they may vary with temperatures. So the higher the temperature, the lower the temperature. But notwithstanding, these refrigerants have pressure, and so the question, if you remove this valve core without anything here, then at this point, this refrigerant's going to and you're going to lose all of your charge. And this could be quite pricey because refrigerant is not cheap, and it depends on which type, and there are multiple different types, and some are much more expensive than others. None, in my opinion, are cheap. But notwithstanding, this little valve core removal makes it nice because you can screw this onto the fitting, which would look like this, a 1/4-inch fitting. It would have the valve stem here. Then you would simply unscrew this, and then when you unscrewed it, you would take this plunger, you would push the plunger up with this turned straight in line. This would be on, because if you push the plunger now, I think it'll stop right here. But then you push the plunger, and then you get it to where it seats just right. So if we take and go here and push it this way, it comes through. As one notes, there's a little bifurcated thing here that grabs onto the valve. I'm not certain if this is the correct terminology, but I call it a Schrader valve. But if one takes a gander inside of here, they can see the valve, and I'm trying to pull it back. One can look, and when one looks inside of here, this little brass looking thing, that's what these teeth would catch on to, and then you would turn it counterclockwise and remove it out, and then you would take the plunger and then simply pull the plunger back here, and then when you pull the plunger back here, then you take the handle and turn the handle I think in a 1/4 turn, which is a 1/4 turn, which I just did just then, the 1/4 turn. So now the handle's turned in a 1/4 turn, so it stopped. So now simply we just take and unscrew this, and the valve stem will be on this end of the plunger. So right here, and then the plunger. So we take this out, and then we take the old valve stem and put a new one on there when we get ready to replace it. But if you're pulling a vacuum or whatnot, if you leave the valve stem out, it may evacuate the system faster, because the valve stem may impede the flow. It will still pull the vacuum as long as it's pressed in, but it may be quicker. So this is the reason a core removal tool is a huge asset in heating and air. Probably wasn't always available in the olden times, and different people did it different ways, and they had their ways of doing it. But it's a nice little tool, in my opinion. Valve core removal tool. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.